Welcome back. This week it's the first of the monument of an absolutely thrilling finale to Saturday's Milan-San Remo. Tirreno Adriatico wraps up and the Women's World Tour continues in Italy. We have a small taste of things to come in Belgium, plus the Tour de Taiwan concludes and the Tour de Langkawi begins. Before we get on with the big one though, a quick wrap up of Tirreno Adriatico. Michal Kwiatkowski took his biggest overall stage race win to date there, beating Damiano Caruso and teammate Geraint Thomas. No surprise to see Rohan Dennis win the final individual time trial, once again upsetting Jos Van Emden for a second year in a row, whilst on the penultimate stage, Michal Kittel won his second race of the year. However, that already feels like a long time ago because last week, the cycling world's eyes were all on La Classicissima, La Primavera, the first monument of the year, Milan-San Remo. At 294 kilometres, it is the longest one-day race of the year. We all get rather excited about it, and yet little happens until the final 30 Ks. And this year was no different, despite some quite horrendous weather conditions over the first part of the 7-hour race. In fact, on the first of the two main climbs in the finale, the Cipressa, we literally didn't have a single attack. Now that was partly down to the headwind and partly down to the extremely high tempo that Groupama FDJ and Team Sky set. However, it did make you start wondering if these climbs just really aren't quite hard enough these days to make a difference in the modern peloton. But then, we had the Poggio, and things started to get a lot more interesting once we reached the final climb of the race. The pace was furious at the start, with Marcus Burkhardt and Jempi Drucker making a move, but as they were reeled in, we saw a very impressive attack coming from a little-known Chris Nielands. He's just 23 years of age, and he basically sparked the winning move. Vincenzo Nibali jumped across, riding for Bahrain Merida, and despite a brave attempt from the Latvian champion, he was unable to stick with the Italian, who took a 10-second lead over the top of that final climb. From there on, it was rather nail-biting for everybody involved, the riders, the teams, and the fans watching too. The question of will he or won't he hold off the group behind was hanging in the balance and not really answered until we reached the final 100 metres of the race. But Nibali managed to do what many of us thought was no longer possible at this particular race, to win it as a pure climber. And I wonder whether this victory answers the question that many have been asking for some time. Does Milan-San Remo need a harder route to shake things up, or should it stick with its traditional course? Now, from my point of view, the fact that Nibali was able to win in the way that he did shows that it's just fine as it is. And it seems from our Twitter poll that the majority of you agree. In fact, just over 80% of you are in favour of keeping it exactly the same. And we had some quite interesting responses from that poll. First up, on one side of the fence was Stuart Devine, even Sagan said he was bored. It would be better with 3 circuits of the last 2 climbs before the finish. Contrary to that though, John Bowl said that some things need to stay as they are, don't mess with a classic, and along similar lines, Andy Harper. It's a monument and you shouldn't mess with them. Cycling isn't all about climbing hills, and I am inclined to agree. Right then, this is what it meant over in Italy. Vincenzo Nibali is the first Italian victor of the race since Pipo Pozzato in 2006, and this was the front of La Gazzetta dello Sport, their daily sports newspaper. Nibali takes up almost the entire front page, and quite deservingly so, I would say. He now has 4 Grand Tours to his name, 3 monuments, Tirreno Adriatico twice, his national championships twice, and 14 stages at Grand Tours. I mean, that really is quite the career. And despite the very obvious choice, Vincenzo Nibali has to be our rider of the week this time around. He's just a true racer, and that's exactly what we all like to see. Before we finish though with Milan-San Remo for this year, we have to mention Caleb Ewan. I mean, he must have been incredibly frustrated to finish second, but that was a magnificent ride for only his second attempt at the race, and he's still just 23 years of age as well. And also, a big get well soon to Andre Greipel, Simon Clark and Mark Cavendish, and anybody else in fact, who crashed on the day. Greipel crashed twice and broke his collarbone. Simon Clark suffered 2 broken vertebrae, the only consolation for him being that he got an Italian pizza in the ambulance, whilst Mark Cavendish's crash looked to be the worst. It was a high-speed collision with a piece of road furniture, but miraculously, he escaped with just a fractured rib and whiplash. Now, we all feared it was going to be a lot worse than that when we first saw it. It came after a roundabout, which did have a marshal, but the traffic divider, which came immediately after, didn't. Now the question is, should it have done? I mean, when you're getting aero and going 60 k's per hour, it's very hard to see what's coming up in front of you. And Cav simply followed a couple of other riders and didn't see it until it was too late. We would love to hear your thoughts on this, which you can leave in the comment section just below this video. Moving on, Sunday saw the continuation of the Women's World Tour, the third round taking place in Italy in the Lombardy region, the Trofeo Alfredo Binda. This race too was held under far from ideal cycling conditions. Now, coming into the final circuit, it was still all to play for. Or at least it was, until Kasia Niewiadoma put in the first of two attacks. The first of those whittled down the group considerably, but then the second, with just 9 kilometres remaining, was really a knockout blow. Try as they might, her competitors simply couldn't get onto her wheel, and as the kilometres ticked down towards the finish line, she gradually increased her lead. 23 seconds back, second place went to world champion Chantal Blaak, whilst many-time world champion Marianne Vos finished third. That really is quite an impressive final podium by all accounts. Believe it or not, that's not only the first one-day World Tour win for Kasia Niewiadoma, but also for her new team, Canyon SRAM. And she takes the lead in the series to boot, which will incidentally continue this week with the 3 days of Depana and Ghent-Wevelgem. Last week also saw the conclusion of the 5-day Tour de Taiwan. The conclusion to stage 3 was a particularly cagey affair. A 13-man group had gained a healthy advantage over the rest of the field. In the end though, taking the sprint with a good couple of lengths to spare over the others was Edwin Avila of Colombia, riding for the Israeli Cycling Academy. Visibly frustrated though in second place on that day was the Japanese rider Yukiya Arashiro, who also moved himself into second place overall behind Jonathan Clark. However, it would be the bonus seconds that were the decisive factor. The 6 seconds that he picked up there, along with the 4 seconds that he picked up for finishing third behind Cameron Bailey the following day, were enough to propel Arashiro into the race lead by a slender 2 seconds. On the final day, there was a stellar lead out from the Italian squad Wilier Triestina, which allowed Luca Paccioni to take his only win of the race. But there was no change in the overall classification, with Arashiro holding on to his slender advantage. The Tour de Langkawi also kicked off on Sunday, a race which Andrea Guardini has almost made his own over the last few years, and his win on day one took his career tally to an incredible 23 stages, quite remarkable. Earlier this week, we also had a taster of cobbles in Belgium, and Quick-Step have once again shown their strength in depth. A change of course at Nokkerenkoers made for some more aggressive racing, but ultimately we still had a reduced field sprint. And coming out on top was 21-year-old neo-pro Fabio Jacobsen of the Netherlands. 2 days later, he passed the baton on to Colombian teammate and sprinter Alvaro Jose Hodeg at the Hans Armour Classic. Also just 21 years of age, he beat Team Sky's Christopher Halverson and Pascal Ackermann of Bora Hansgrohe to the line. Now that makes it 15 victories already this year for Team Quick-Step, with 8 different riders. It really is quite amazing how they managed to do this year in, year out. Right, that's pretty much it for this week's show, but we've got a packed week of racing coming up. The climbers reconvene at the Volta Catalunya, whilst the classic specialists take on the 3 days of Depana, which strangely now is just a 1-day race, as well as the E3 Prize and Ghent-Wevelgem on Sunday as well. Plus, there's the Tour de Langkawi which continues, and the Settimana Coppi Bartali to look forward to as well. We'll be back with all of that on Monday, and I hope to see you then. In the meantime, if you haven't watched last week's GCN show just yet, it's all about the 7 deadly sins, and you can find it just down here.